Within the last 2 weeks, My Hero Academia went from being the most hyped up manga out there with absolutely everyone talking about it and loving what was happening, to now this week becoming possibly the most hated manga out right now. And it's not because My Hero Academia did anything bad. It's simply because people have not been reading the story and have been simply hopping on the bandwagon of hate that other people are promoting. Now, I'm not going to name any names, but certain creators have been talking about how disappointed they are with the current state of My Hero Academia and how disappointed they are with the events that occurred within the latest chapter of My Hero Academia. And before I get into debunking all of these complaints, let's first talk about what's been going on in these latest 2 chapters of the My Hero Academia manga. Basically, when chapter 419 of My Hero Academia came out 2 weeks ago, My Hero Academia took over the entire anime and manga scene by storm, with everyone talking about it. Even the people who didn't read or watch My Hero Academia at all were checking out the manga to see what was going on, because that's how crazy the chapter was. To give a short recap of the events, All For One emerged inside of Shigaraki's internal vestige world, and he confronted both Deku and Shigaraki. And that's when All For One revealed that Shigaraki's entire life had been planned out by him since before Shigaraki was born. All For One manipulated Shigaraki's dad into having another kid. He then stole Shigaraki's original quirk, took an overhaul quirk which had both regeneration and decay, removed the regeneration part, and gave decay to Shigaraki. Again, revealing that he planned everything there was about Shigaraki's life. All For One then supposedly destroys Shigaraki inside of the vestige world, taking over Shigaraki's body completely. All For One has now completely returned, now in control of Shigaraki's body. And the real crazy part is what we saw in the next page. Because as All For One returned, we see that Deku tries to get up but collapses. And then we get the big reveal that Deku has lost both of his arms while trying to fight Shigaraki and All For One. And this one panel of Deku losing his arms was enough to take over the entire manga scene. Absolutely everyone was talking about it. And unfortunately, this included people who didn't keep up with the My Hero Academia manga or weren't fans of the series in the first place. Now, the reason why I say unfortunately is because these people who don't keep up with the series don't really know what type of series My Hero Academia is like. So them seeing this one manga panel of Deku losing his arms makes them think, oh, My Hero Academia is about to turn into this super dark and gory manga. Everyone is about to get absolutely annihilated. So chapter 419 coming out and these crazy things happening, like All For One taking over Shigaraki's body and Deku losing both of his arms, people got super hyped because they thought that My Hero Academia was about to turn into a dark manga and was about to take a similar approach as Jujutsu Kaisen does to its manga. However, when chapter 420 came out of My Hero Academia a few days ago, people are now extremely disappointed because it did not take the approach that they were expecting. What ended up happening in chapter 420 is the chapter started off with a flashback with Aizawa, Mike, and Kurogiri, with them trying to convince Kurogiri to help them and trying to reach out to him in some sort of way. Both Mike and Aizawa managed to successfully reach out to Kurogiri, and Kurogiri teleports Aizawa into the battlefield to help Deku, as we saw in the ending of chapter 419. Now, people are mainly upset over this next thing that happened, which was Deku regaining his arms. Basically, it's revealed to us that Eri had cut off a piece of her horn. Actually, she cut off nearly her entire horn, gave it to Aizawa, and Aizawa was able to use Eri's horn to heal Deku's arms. And people seeing this are absolutely shocked for some reason that this has happened. I mean, people are calling My Hero Academia My Disney Academia. They're saying, oh, there's no stakes involved whatsoever. The story's super predictable. And my question to those people is, are you guys really expecting the series to end with Deku having no arms? Deku is the main character. This is a shonen series. It's not going to get dark all of a sudden if the main themes of the series have not been that dark. The only people who are complaining are the people who set themselves up for disappointment. The same people who were expecting My Hero Academia to turn dark all of a sudden, when in reality that was never going to happen, are the ones who are complaining about Deku getting his arms back. First off, there is nothing wrong with them using Eri as a plot device in order to heal Deku. Eri has been a vital character ever since she got introduced. Like, this has been directly shown to us countless amounts of times. Eri has one of the most broken quirks in the entire series. It is the quirk that allows somebody to rewind time. She is the only character in My Hero Academia who has a time-based quirk. She is obviously going to play a pivotal role in the series considering how broken she is. And she has played a pivotal role so far. She was a major role in the overhaul arc. She then goes on to be the main reason why All For One is able to get his old body back and was able to thrash the entire hero side, giving the villains an advantage. And now Eri once again plays another crucial role in helping healing Deku. And also, it's not like Eri healing Deku's arms didn't come without cost. We don't know if Eri is ever going to get her quirk back, and even if she does, it's going to have a long cooldown considering she cut off her entire horn. She could have potentially lost her quirk forever just in order to heal Deku and give the heroes a fighting chance. People are really complaining about Eri. Eri being an established plot point, a plot point that was established hundreds of chapters ago, now being used within the final arc of the story. That is a perfect setup. I don't know what more people could want. If this was any other series, it would receive no complaints. Now, I've seen one semi-valid criticism to this latest chapter of My Hero Academia, and this criticism was, it makes no sense for them to remove Deku's arms and then give him back his arms a chapter later. And let me go over this. If you did not read the chapter fully, I can understand why it seems like this is what's happening. However, that is not the case at all. It was actually stated that due to how weak Eri was, and due to how damaged Deku is, it would take at least a couple of minutes for Deku to gain his arms back. In a moment like this, with the heroes and Deku being confronted by All For One, who has now returned, a few minutes could be the deciding factor between the heroes winning or the heroes losing. So the main reason why Horikoshi decided to remove Deku's arms was to take Deku out of the fight momentarily and to let the other side characters shine for a bit. Ever since the beginning of the series, My Hero Academia has heavily relied on its wide cast of side characters. And due to this extremely big cast, Horikoshi needs to make sure that each one of these characters has a chance to shine, because once again, these side characters are very important to the story and have been important since the beginning. That's why Sero, out of all people, was the one to save Deku from All For One in chapter 419. Because once again, Horikoshi needs to give all these side characters some sort of spotlight. And in order to do so, he had to momentarily write Deku out of the story by making Deku lose his arms and then making it a process for Deku to get them back. I highly doubt Deku is coming back in the next chapter. I even doubt that Deku is coming back in the next 3 chapters, because we know that in mangas and in animes, a few minutes is a lot longer than what feels like a few minutes. A few minutes can take up multiple chapters, and I believe that's what's happening right now. So while Deku is in the process of recovering, all the other side characters that we haven't seen in a bit are going to be trying to hold off All For One until Deku arrives. Also, I would just like to address the fact that all the people that are complaining about Deku getting his arms back, or how predictable My Hero Academia is, are the same people who are being led to believe that every story now needs to end tragically. With very popular mangas like Attack on Titan and Jujutsu Kaisen not following the traditional shonen route, and taking a more tragic and dramatic approach to the series, many people now believe that every other series needs to take the same tragic approach with multiple characters dying or the main character dying. That is not what a traditional shonen is. My Hero follows the traditional shonen format to an absolute T. If this was Bleach, if this was Dragon Ball, if this was Naruto, if this was One Piece, nobody would be complaining. And in fact, all those series that I've just mentioned have done similar things to what is happening to Deku in the current My Hero manga. In fact, the other series that I've just mentioned have done it to a much larger degree than My Hero Academia has done. Naruto has died in his series and has come back. Ichigo has died in his series and has come back. Luffy has died in his series and has come back. Yet, not one of these series is going to receive a shred of criticism for that, because people say, oh, well, it was established plot points that was able to bring these characters back. It was foreshadowed that they will come back. Meanwhile, Deku loses his arms and manages to get them healed once again through an established plot point, just like how all these other series have done it, and everyone will lose their minds over it, because it is frankly a trend to hate on My Hero Academia. It's what's popular, so people are going to hop on this bandwagon of hate. If you were expecting My Hero Academia to turn dark all of a sudden and have all the characters be written out of the story, I'm sorry, but you set yourself up for disappointment. My Hero Academia has never been that type of series, and frankly, people are getting mad at My Hero Academia for following the themes that it has been following since the very start of the series. My Hero Academia may simply just not be your cup of tea if you don't like series that have happy endings, or if you don't like series that focus a lot on the side characters and actually value the side characters rather than writing off all of them. There is nothing wrong with Deku getting his arms healed, especially considering that Deku is probably going to be out of commission for more than one chapter, allowing the side characters to shine. There is also nothing wrong with the series having a happy ending, and there is nothing wrong with Eri being the one to heal Deku, considering the fact that Eri's importance was already heavily set up in the beginning of the series. My Hero Academia has simply just taken the traditional shonen route, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. People are just led to believe that every series now needs to end tragically, and that is not true whatsoever. My Hero Academia has always been one of those series that you are supposed to read and have a smile on your face while reading. You are supposed to be inspired by this series, and it perfectly executes this, because My Hero Academia is, quite frankly, a very inspiring series. And if you want a series to not be inspiring, then My Hero Academia is simply just not for you. That doesn't make it a bad series. Anyways, with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and make sure to like and subscribe, and let me know what other videos you guys want to see in the future. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys on the next one.